for you all for attending. We'll get started. This meeting is held in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. The news media has been notified and a copy of the agenda has been made available to the public. This meeting is open to the public and the public is welcome to attend in person. All persons wishing to attend the meeting by virtual means may do so via YouTube Sumter School District Board Meetings and Sumter School District's Facebook page. Vision. Sumter School District is committed to educating, empowering, and enriching the lives of all students to reach their full potential. Our mission. Sumter School District is committed to providing safe, nurturing, and high-quality educational environment that supports diversity and equips students for local and global success. Our committee members is myself, Jeff Zell. I'm chairman. I represent Area 8 on the school board. Chairman of the Ad Hoc Transportation Committee, Tara Kalser-Johnson, who will be attending virtually, and Trustee Sherry White, who will not be in attendance due to an illness. Please keep her in your prayers. Our staff members, we have Dr. William Wright, our superintendent, Samuel Myers, Executive Director of Operations. We have some other executives in the back over there. Thank you for attending. And Ms. Shantae Scott, without our very capable executive, Shantae Scott, our administrative manager, the superintendent, and the board of trustees. I would like to call this meeting to order. First, I'd just like to take a couple minutes to make some opening remarks. Fellow trustees, superintendent, district executive staff leaders, and most importantly, the families and the students of Sumter County. I'd like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to you all for being present here today, whether in person or virtually, and granting us the privilege to serve you. Over the past few months, we've been working hard to address the issue of bus driver shortages and transportation inefficiencies, and we have made good progress and forward momentum in key areas. We began by formally acknowledging the problem and taking swift action to form an oversight committee on transportation. Since then, we raised the minimum pay, working with the district office, to $18 per hour, and introduced retention stipends and to encourage drivers to continue to work with us. Moreover, the state of South Carolina has increased funding to include non-certified staff pay, which covers bus drivers and drivers' aides. And the district and board of trustees have taken proactive approach to correcting the substandard compensation entitlement system that has plagued this district for years. Our efforts have yielded positive results, there's no question about that, including reducing the number of late buses successfully onboarding new drivers to our team. We are committed to building on this success and continuously improving in these key areas in our services. Yes, sir. Thank you. We are committed to building on this success. However, there is a lot of work to do, and that is obvious without question. We have a transportation system that needs a lot of effort and attention. We believe that we can further reduce the number of late buses and address the critical understaffing issue with our bus drivers and our aides, but it will require us to think outside the box and make bold decisions. Despite the challenges, we remain confident in restoring the transportation system. The committee worked hard with experts and citizens to find solutions to these issues, and despite our best efforts, we have yet to translate our ideas into a concrete plan. While some progress has been made, this committee, and the district will renew our efforts to address these challenges. It's important we confront the systemic issues that are impeding the effectiveness of our transportation team. Our transportation professionals, 3 of them in attendance with us, thank you, gentlemen, for being here, are dedicated to ensuring every student arrives safely and on time. However, there are problems that prevent them from doing their job to the fullest potential. As leaders, we have to take the responsibility to provide our children's safety, and transportation staff is not overburdened. We need to find solutions to create safe and reliable transportation systems to our students. We got to be bold to come up with effective solutions. Lastly, I would like to publicly state that though I do not fully understand the gravity and effort of change that this district has taken on. I know this last year, under our executive leadership staff, under Superintendent Wright, his guidance and leadership, has been a whirlwind of activity. There's no question about that. And I hope you all understand that I am not here, this committee is not here to get in your way or to come after anyone. We are here to help. That is my promise, and that's what we're going to do. I just want to make a couple quick statements real quick. Please, if you would, speak into the microphones. I would appreciate that so that folks can hear you who are watching virtually. And at this time, we'll take a second for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. All right, without further ado, and if there is no objections, we'll move on to the agenda. The approval of agenda, and without okay, so I guess it's on me. I do not disapprove of this agenda, so it will stand approved. And then we'll move on to 3.1, Transportation Ad Hoc Committee, information and discussion and updates. And so I think we'll turn it over to Mr. Myers, if you are ready to speak on behalf of some of those questions we've asked. And
I'm okay, yes, sir.
all right.
Good evening. I'll first start with, we received a series of questions, and one of the main questions indicated about the perpetually extremely late arrivals for Sumter High School and Hillcrest Middle School. Let me say at the onset that it was conveyed that Hillcrest Middle School had a bus that was arriving, bus 131, arriving for an hour after start time for over 3 years. We've checked with transportation, and we've had conversations with the administration, and that bus 131 arrives at 8:20 in the morning. I've been there several times. Staff has been there several times observing and making note of that. So that bus itself arrives right about 8:20. Of course, we would like for it to be there sooner than that. However, there are some other things that have precluded that, and we'll continue to work to make sure that occurs. I wasn't certain about the perpetually extremely late at Sumter High School. Each day we receive from Sumter High a listing of all of the buses and their arrival times. The latest bus that arrives at Sumter High School now is right around 8:55, and that's each morning. There have been some systemic changes. Mr. Johnson and his team of drivers have made adjustments. Mr. Jones and Mr. Brailsford have worked closely in looking at how to bring about more efficiency, and that's where that has affected it the most. And we've got a chart of those schools that may have a late bus here or there or late departures, and we'll get to that as we move along with this presentation. I do want to digress just for a moment and go to something that's of extremely significance. One of the questions indicated, what are the current driver vacancies? And I think something that is well noted, instead of talking about the vacancies in a whole, I've come up with, and working with our supervisors, the drivers that are needed for those areas in order for this to work. In Area 1, if we had 4 new drivers, we could make sure that our routes are run efficiently and those buses would arrive at schools right at the beginning of that start time. And I think we need to take note that start times vary at certain schools. Our elementary schools are all on time because they're the first ones to be picked up in the mornings and dropped off. So their start times are all intact and the students are there on time. Middle schools, you have a couple of schools that start at 8:30. The others start at 8 o'clock. But when we take a look at the numbers that we need in Area 1, if we had four drivers, we would be able to improve and work on that efficiency as well. Area 2, if we had 8 drivers, and in Area 3, if we had 4 drivers. If we could come up with those 16 drivers, after looking at the efficiency and breaking down those routes, we should be able to take a significant chunk out of those late arrivals.
Yes, sir. May I interject? I
Sure.
think that's phenomenal. We look at I would like to know overall kind of the vacancies, what we have, but this is targeted information. I think this is very good. Compartmentalizing each one to every district, every area is going to have its own need. And so I appreciate that particularly. So thank you for that.
All right. As we continue to move forward, there was a question in reference to what was the plan for implementing the different things that we have going on and understanding the problems that existed. There was a question about recruiting. Our current vacancies are right at 32. And if you, with the tabulations that I just gave, that cuts it in half of the numbers that we need. And we'll continue to recruit those drivers. Until that time, I know we'll continue to face those challenges, and we can't get around that. We'll continue to face them head on. Our current drivers and staff have been very instrumental in getting the word out. They've been talking to former drivers. They've been talking to persons who are moving from other areas to assist with that. This information has not changed from the times we spoke before with the previous question, so it continues to move forward. With advertising, there have been announcements on social media. We've had job fairs, referrals from other drivers, talking to persons in other districts, and the list goes on. Referral bonuses, with the superintendent's suggestion and the board's approval of the increase for the starting pay for drivers to be $18 an hour. That has attracted some attention. And we're hopeful that it will continue to do that. And we've had several persons to come from surrounding areas and beyond. And we anticipate that that will continue to occur. Temporary outsourcing, the use of charter buses, not an option that we've put on the table before. I guess it's not out of the ballpark, and we'll see where that might go. RTA is an additional option. I'll be talking with them later in the week to see how RTA buses may be able to assist.
Sir, what's RTA? Is that,
Regional Transportation
okay, is
Authority.
that local?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a question in reference to the number of communications received by parents and guardians per day regarding late buses. Because the communication is received by the schools, it's difficult for us to pinpoint how many communications are out there, how many times they're calling, or how many times that we're reaching out to them. So we'll continue to follow that and track that and see how we might be able to put something together to make it work better for everyone. Another question centered around the average number of students on each bus. The average number of students on each bus will range from 55 to 65. These numbers change every day and will continue to be that way. There were a couple of other questions about the average on-time rates and average late times. That's something that's very hard to depict at the moment. If we could find the time to look at those rates, right now we're more focused on how we're going to get those drivers in and get those children to school, and maybe a time that we can address that at some other point. I already shared that piece about the number of drivers that we need for Area 1, 2, and 3. There was another question in reference to the current status of Traversa with the tablets. Approximately 25 tablets arrived for our special need drivers. Tyler Engineering conducted and completed the training for our drivers and staff online a couple of weeks ago. Hands-on training will commence in a few weeks. And Mr. Jones has been instrumental in making sure that we stay on tap with that, and we'll continue to push forward with that. Status of our radio orders. Radios are secured. We're awaiting confirmation and approval to mount them on the buses. Mr. Jones just spoke with the tech from our maintenance bus shop. We're working on Monday or Tuesday of next week to have those radios mounted on our buses. And so,
May I just a quick question?
yes.
Is there any I'm guessing because they are state-owned buses, we're already past the administrative approval part. Is it a physical effort at this point?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. In the past, some of our drivers have had opportunities to use radios, and it's a basic type training that they will receive to use those radios, and we can make that happen in very short order. There was a question in reference to district policy and process about alerting parents of late buses. Schools have been asked to create those groups within mass notification systems to alert parents and guardians when there is a late bus. Schools also post this information on their social media pages. And we talked about that Ride 360, and I'll go ahead and move into that. There is no updated information at this time, and I say that because the app itself is somewhat flawed. We've got a number of districts that have taken it on and have postponed the use of it because it has not been user-friendly. And they're still working trying to work the kinks out, and Tyler Engineering has been instrumental in trying to do that, but they continue to hit brick walls, and we're going to continue to desire to have an instrument like that. But until that time, we'll have to rely on making sure that we can alert our parents, and hopefully one day we can find something that's maybe cost effective, because the cost is the piece of it right now if you try to find something like that. But Ride 360 is a free process, but until that time we'll continue to hang on to what we have. There was another question in reference to the status of the transportation director position, and we've turned that over to Dr. Wright, and he'll address that, at the appropriate time.
You want me to give you a breather and do that?
Yes,
now?
sir. You may. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Zell, as you know, and others may or may not know, as a part of the salary study approval, there was space given for a transportation director position. Of course, there have been some discussions internally about that. So now that we kind of know that we are going to move forward with that, as we are developing and implementing the results of the salary study in terms of pay, we'll go ahead and get that job posted pretty quickly and start the interview process. I am also, and this is a bit preliminary, but I'll say what I can right now. We're also looking at some reorganization of leadership that will occur during the second semester of the school year. So ideally, this transportation director addition would be a part of that reorganization. But I think it's probably smart for us, considering what we know, to go ahead and make the posting and get that process. So we'll try to get that done in the next few weeks. I'll talk with Dr. Kumas and Mr. Myers, and we'll try to outline exactly what we need and make sure that we're getting the most bang out of the buck for that position. Certainly a need, and it's been a need for a while, I think, but we will do that very shortly. And I'll update you guys in terms of when we've got it posted.
Yes, sir. Just a ballpark, is there a time frame within, a loose time frame that you could give us of what to?
Yeah, so my thought is certainly probably before the Christmas holidays we can have it posted. Typically, you try to keep it open. What do we keep those things open, Dr. Coombs? 30 to 60 days? Which one? 30 days? Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what we got. We'll probably initially do it at a 30-day time frame. So I would say probably the end of January, hopefully we'll be able to bring
Yes, sir.
bring a name to you
And I understand, Superintendent, that this is
Yes, sir.
fluid.
Yes, sir,
So,
it is
you know,
absolutely.
No hard expectations, just
Okay.
appreciate the effort on it.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay. There was a question, which is a good question, that says, do we currently have a full-time certified bus driver trainer? We just don't have one. We have one DMV certified state safety officer and third-party tester, and that's Mr. Johnson. We have one state certified behind-the-wheel trainer, working some with CDL, and that's Ms. Sandra Ludd. And we have two state certified behind-the-wheel trainers, and that's Mr. Brailsford and Mr. Jones. So they're all state certified and have been doing this type of training for a number of years.
Sure.
And will continue to do so.
Right. Just a quick question. That's great. What was the total number? We have, it sounded like 6. I didn't write it down.
It's 4.
4? Okay.
4, yes.
Are of those 4, are any one dedicated to training only, or is it a do they wear multiple hats?
They
Is it
wear
like
multiple hats.
Multiple hats?
Right,
Okay.
yes.
I think ideally, I mean, and then obviously in operations, but I hope that we can get to the place where we have enough bus drivers that, you know, we can have a certified, or, you know, and I'm not trying to get, you know, in your area, but I would hope that full-time trainer could do just that, train, do, you know, follow-up training, professional development, things of that nature. I think we have to, obviously, and I know that you all take this very serious, we have to not just develop our certified staff, but we got to develop all of our staff, and our bus drivers, of course, deserve that training and opportunities as well. So I appreciate that effort. Thank you.
Well, I must say that on a daily basis, they're constantly working to continue to keep their skills sharp.
Yes, sir.
And they're working with drivers day in and day out to ensure that everyone is squared away and continuing ready to go. The last question indicated, since August, how many bus driver employment applications have we received to date? We've received 18 applications. However, some applicants may have applied for additional positions, and the system may not be able to filter those responses at this time. However, as Mr. Jones and I have been talking, we found that there have been close to 10 more. So it's about 28 to 30 applications that have been in there, and for many different reasons. Some of them don't qualify once you do background checks and everything else, so it sort of works out. So that's where we are, and those are the questions that were submitted.
Well, thank you for that. I think that's good information for the community to know. I think it's good for our transportation folks, knowing that help is on the way, and that we're focusing our efforts on this, I mean, just straight critical process within education. Like we all know, if our kids aren't in school, that bumper sticker slogan, if they're not in class, they're not learning. And you know, it eats away at that precious you know, instruction time. And so thank you for that. This is a lot of good information. I know that Mr. Mills is watching online right now, and so he has some good things to update the community on. My question is, so of course the 18 applications, actually before I get into this, Dr. Wright, would you like to add anything?
I'm okay.
Sorry, I don't want to
No, you're
go out of order. I jumped right in. I want to be respectful of y'all's time. So I know we had you here late last night. So I mean, it's what we do, I guess. But that said, so we know that obviously, you know, when folks apply, there are going to be things that are going to get in the way, right? They're just not going to be qualified. Background checks are not going to wash out, that sort of thing. One question that it's just kind of, I just don't know the answer to, and this isn't necessarily an operations issue, but more so a HR administrative issue. Do we have, are these any, and I'm not asking you to tell on your colleagues, that's something I think we should focus on to ensure if there's anything administrative or human resources wise that's either lagging or getting in the way of maybe streamlining this process. That's something I think, so maybe what I'm saying is, the efforts of operations, I don't want to be affected, obviously, by another executive office. And so I think that we need to reach across that threshold there if we haven't yet. and find out if there is anything that is preventing us from getting those folks into the door. And so I'm very interested in that, and if we could talk about that in the future, I think that would be a very important conversation to have. I just have a few new questions that I thought about since these. Most of them were answered. One of the things I'd like to ask is, since August, how many folks have we had certified? How many certified drivers do we have since August? Do you know that off the top of your head by chance?
The total number?
Yeah, I mean, yes, sir. Do you all know that by chance? And if not, we can come back to it. So the angle I'm coming at with this, again, is, if there's anything, and it kind of harkens back to the question of, full-time trainers. And I was in logistics for 20 years in the Air Force, so logistics is kind of near and dear to my heart. So I have a little bit of knowledge about it. But that said, and the reason why, obviously, I know probably most days it feels like we're chasing our tail. I know that y'all should probably be certified in firefighting because that's all you do every day is put out fires. I get it. And hopefully we can get to a place where, we can actually, really have the right people in the right place to focus on specific things. That said, is with this particular issue, we have a, if I'm imagining that we are maxing out our bus driver ability with people that we would like to have probably in, I guess, positions that aren't in a bus but someplace else, right? Does that make sense? What I'm saying is, do we have a full? This is what I want to say. I believe we need a full-time trainer that's not dedicated to driving, if we can get to that place, and then allow them to just focus on that. And so my question is this: how long from the moment that we get the application, it comes through, it goes to the HR, it passes all the things, passes muster, that we can get them certified, and is not having I know we have dedicated trainers, but I'm sure they're being tasked in other ways where they can't just do that. So how long should it take to train a new bus driver to how long it actually takes in reality? That's a big question, and I just really convoluted the entire thing, but that's the question.
It's an honest question.
Yes, sir.
But we take a look at 3 to 4 weeks, 4 weeks max. However, there are some things that do get in the way of that.
Sure.
Not only are our supervisors and our trainers being a part of that, but we have to take into consideration that the applicant himself or herself may have something else that's occurring in their life. They may get sick, and
Sure.
they have some other obligations, and it delays the entire process.
Sure.
So you're going to find that it's not going to be exact each time.
Understood.
Even if you had a full-time trainer who
Sure.
devoted that time to it. So 3 to 4 weeks is
That's
optimal.
Okay. Okay, that said, now this is more of an HR question too, and I'm sure you know this answer. When we hire these folks, and from the time that they're hired to the time they're certified, are we paying them? Is that something that and the reason why I ask that is because if, people they got to eat. And I'm imagining when folks are applying, they're not applying with just us.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that I would be very amenable to is, if we're not paying them, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be a driver's wage. Because that's sort of the end result, right? Is that we want to certify them, pay them the $18 an hour, and then grow them into leadership. But that said, if it's taking 3 to 4 weeks from the time we hire them to the time we certify, and they are not receiving any pay, I think that's kind of a disincentive, and something that I would be absolutely willing to work with my fellow trustees on, obviously with the advice of the district, and to get after that. I think that would be a good incentive. I don't think it'd be a great cost. simply because we're not asking. I mean, we're talking a minimum 16 drivers with a maximum of 32. The numbers on, is that accurate? So would you like to speak on that at all? Does that make sense? I mean, I won't put you on the spot, sir, but. I think
Well,
that'd be something we could ask.
here's what is great about it is it's thinking that hopefully will get us some more people to the table. So I think I think there are some qualification and employment, you know, we gotta make sure that that stuff is in place, and we'll have to check with the appropriate people to do that, because essentially what we're talking about is compensating somebody in some way before they start the actual work. But as I mean, you know, we just have to look through the legality of that, and then of course, if we do that for bus drivers and someone who is waiting to be employed as a teacher, you know. So we got to work out that. What I think, Mr. Chairman, that is most appealing about this is, once again, we're taking the no stones unturned approach to it, because the bottom line is, just as in other areas, you know, we've got a severe shortage when it comes to bus drivers, and these gentlemen send me, I get reports, email reports just about every day on what has been done, and to be honest with you, we're working miracles just about every day to deliver children to school because of the shortage and the things that are needing to happen. So I certainly don't think there's anybody who has a direct responsibility of it who, I mean, we're doing all we can to try to seek answers. And I do think the pay increase helped. I think we're going to have to be more strategic about getting the word out. But I also think that just as we are seeing in other districts across the state and nation, the work of a bus driver has changed. Children used to sit down on buses and behave without any input, you know, because we used to be able to say, if you don't, mama will do X, Y, and Z. So that culture has changed a little bit, and so we're going to have to make sure that the culture on buses is appropriate so that we can attract people to it. We can look at hiring process and the time that it takes and all of that, but that environment has to be conducive, and these people work hard every day to try to improve those environments. But you know, and the things like we're talking about with cameras and things of that nature, Mr. Zell, all of that's going to add to the bottom line. You know, getting things in place to make the process better, trainers in place. That's a great thing, but we got to have people to train. You know, so you know, we're going to have to work collaboratively, which is what you said, to make sure that we're getting the things in place. But I do think that line of thinking is certainly something that we can look into, and we can come back to you with the parameters around
Sure.
which that can be done.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yep.
I appreciate that. And
Yes, sir.
would you like to add something to that, Mr. Myers?
Yes,
Okay,
I'd like
please.
to add on to what Dr. Wright has said. Over the past 3 weeks, where we talk about the work of what drivers have done, a week ago and prior to that, 2 weeks before that, we had two situations at one of our elementary schools. We had a water main break, and we had to shut the water off at the school. And knowing that you could not allow students to stay in the building nor staff in that way, we had to transport those students home. We had to make a call to our drivers, called the supervisors, called Mr. Jones, and the drivers were on target and arrived at the school in less than minutes, knowing the seriousness of getting children home. We had close to 16 buses that arrived at that elementary school and got them home, and we like to give all of those drivers another big shout out for changing their day. Some had not even had lunch because of the time that it occurred. they made it happen. Of course, there may be a little grumbling here or there, but then again, but that's okay. They did it because of the love they have for what they do, and we give them a big pat on the back for that. And they're second to none when it comes to that. 2 weeks later, the power went off at Sumter High, Millwood, the Career Center, and Kingsbury. Once again, we called the supervisors. Mr. Jones rounded them up. We had to get drivers to those 4 sites. Luckily, the Career Center buses were on target, and they were there sooner than all of the others. Maybe 10, 15 minutes later, Mr. Jones sent a message indicating that the buses had arrived at Millwood and Kingsbury, and they were en route home. Sumter High School was the last one. Drivers did what they needed to do. The efficiency of the situation itself, where the drivers knew they needed to get back to the school. We had drivers, we had coaches, we had food service personnel, and I can't leave them out because they had to make sure those children were fed in some form or fashion before they left. We have to give maintenance another shout out because they had to go to the sites to ensure that everything was okay with the operations of the building. So you see, all of this just doesn't encompass one group. It encompasses so many different people, and they rise to the occasion every time we have something going on. So we can, if we look at the numbers, if we look at the small pieces of it, those things do matter, but the human piece of that, the human side of it is that they're doing this because they love it. And I give them all of the kudos for the work that they do. I give the kudos for our supervisors and office staff and the executive team for the way that they support what's going on, and we'll continue to do that. And I know that won't be the only thing that may happen, and we're going to have to call on them again, and they will rise to the occasion as they have in the past, and we continue to pat them on the back.
Well, I absolutely share that sentiment, and I believe that, you know, I've been on the board for going on a year now, 9 months now, and I've learned that there are, you know, obviously we have a reputation issue across the district. I think it's been somewhat deserved, somewhat not deserved, but what I've learned just by putting my face in front of others in this district is that we have some of the most dedicated people I've ever met that are willing to do it for far less than they deserve. And that's where I think that we as leaders, you know, we ask these tough questions, we get in front of it, you know, we take an extremely proactive approach, give them the resources and the pay and the staff they need, and just let them go. They're the experts, right? We've seen it, and you just had 2 great testaments to what they're willing to do, what they're capable of doing. And so I often think I can imagine what this transportation sentiment or this effort could do if they had 10 more drivers or 20 more drivers. I mean, that's even 5 in some ways. I mean, just imagine they make things happen, like you said. That magic happens, and you know, of course, we're still in the journey of getting to the final destination, but I appreciate them more than I could ever tell them, and so I share your sentiment. So I just have a couple more questions, and then I think we're pretty close to wrapping this up, I believe. Okay, so we have, I think you answered most of my questions, to be honest. Driver's aids, driver's aids. Do we have a driver's aid shortage as well? And is this something, if there is, are there, you know, do we utilize Kelly services for driver's aids? Is that something that we do? Do we need to do?
That monitors
Yes, monitors, yes, sir. Yeah, sorry, different language here. I don't speak your language. But do we have a monitor shortage? Is that something that we're aware of?
Monitors are basically used for special needs buses.
Okay.
We may have some of our regular ed buses, can't recall how many, but monitors are basically a requirement that we have for our special needs buses.
Okay.
We would love to have
Sure.
And we hadn't crossed that yet. We
Sure.
wanted to make sure we can get an experiment to see
Oh.
if that might occur.
Sure, understood.
It's not anything that you just wake up one day and say, we're gonna put them on these
Mm,
buses.
understood.
Not to take them for what
Absolutely. Well, I think that that's something that, as I go around, I mean, just, I think it changes the dynamics of just a simple route. Some buses may need a little more oversight just based on what the drivers are dealing with as far as the children. You might have a rowdier bunch on this bus than on this one. But I think it's something that would be something worth considering. I don't know, again, obviously we have to work with HR and finance to see, what the cost impact would be on that. But I think it would be certainly something to consider to make like we talked about environment on the buses earlier, having a second set of eyeballs on these kids and mature adult eyes, it's certainly not a bad thing. So I just would offer that as a point to consider. And, we can have a longer discussion about that in the future. Okay, so have we received the electric buses yet, and are we utilizing them?
they're not arrived yet. We haven't the anticipated timeframe is possibly next year.
Okay. And I'm sure that's going to come with a whole plethora of new training. And so I'm just simply asking because it was something that came up in a conversation recently. And yes, sir, charging facilities, infrastructure, training. I don't even, will certification even be adjusted? I mean, will there be a special or a tack-on certification? Okay. And so, but as far as them being purchased, that was a state-funded effort. Like, that's not, okay. Good deal. And that, I mean, I'll take what I can get, so, all right, so that's going to be a whole, and I don't even really want to pursue that. I just my suggestion is don't take your eye off the ball, because this is something that I know how these bureaucracies work. They promise you all these things, and all of a sudden, bam, they're in your face, and now you got to deal with it. And so if we don't have if we're not expecting it, or have a little leeway, it'd be, obviously it's going to turn our focus away from what we got to do every day to another fire to put out, if you will. So just keep your eye on the ball on that, and I appreciate it. And we're getting close, guys. We're getting close. How many activity buses do we have? Do we know? I'm kind of hearing murmurs about activity buses being in short supply at this point, and there's a big need for them, because my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, activity buses are kind of they're for the other things, right? They're for, the whether it be, whatever it is, right? The various, other than student transport to and from school. Do we have a shortage in that area? And if so,
I can't give you an exact number because we do have some that are being repaired.
yes, sir.
And we have placed within the capital funds coming up that you all will see pretty soon, a request for 2 new activity buses.
Oh, good.
I can't indicate what that total number will be for the ones that we have. We'll have to get back to you with
Sure,
that. But
I appreciate that.
they do a very good job, Ms. Ludd and the others do a very good job of juggling those buses to make sure that athletics, as well as the different field trips that are taking, that
Sure.
they have those. And when we do run short, we have to use the state buses. The only thing we have to do is acquire a permit. Am I correct?
Okay.
Acquire a permit in order to use that state bus.
All right. Is
So-
that, do you know, is that process being utilized like in fullness, or
Yes.
is it something that we have to do?
Yes.
Okay. But, and I don't want to lead you into this answer, but would it be, best case scenario would be that we have activity buses at our disposal when needed, so we don't have to go through the administrative process of tapping into our
Right.
school, right?
Yes.
So if you could find out that, I would really appreciate it, about how many how many buses we got, activity bus, because I keep hearing around the district that, you know, there's, of course, there's always going to be limited supply of resources and buses and bus drivers. I get this. But, you know, and again, also, and full disclosure, and if we're being intellectually honest, not every rumor I hear is true, right? And so, I mean, we know this, right? So we have to validate these things. But that said, you know, yes, primary importance is getting our students to and from school at the time they're supposed to be there and supposed to leave. However, that doesn't negate the need for transportation for those other things that you mentioned. They're very important to education administration as well. And so I'm very interested. I think, you know, if we have, I'm very interested to find out how many activity buses that we have, how many are in a state of disrepair, and sort of what's the status of them, and as that relates to this committee and the board, how we can help maybe get some of those things. Maybe, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to do it. Maybe hire an outside firm for just a quick fix sort of thing until we can get caught up. I don't know what it looks like as far as the solution, but I certainly would be willing to advocate for whatever makes sense on that. So I think I'm just about done. Let me scan my notes one more time, and then I'll give you all the floor to make any final comments. And of course, I got to get through the agenda. I don't want Miss Shantae to get me in trouble, or get her in trouble, rather. So, all right. I think that's about it. So I guess at this point, really, I guess what I want to see is, you know, just continue to work on that standard operating practice on alerting parents. I think that's a very important. Obviously, the communication is. We all aware of this. We've all talked about this ad nauseum. That we may be doing and taking all the efforts in the world and really moving the ball forward, but if we don't communicate that in an effective way, the community doesn't see it. They don't think we're doing it, and that's just not the actual fact of the matter. And so I please, you know, I would like to see an operating sort of you know, at some point an operating standard that we could adopt maybe into policy, or see it written down from a executive policy in-house on, you know, generally how alerting parents. I think that's a big one. I mean, you know, parents deserve to know where their kids are at when they need to know. And so please continue your effort on that. I would definitely want to see the capital funds, which I know that we'll probably see in the very near future for those activity buses. I think that could take a lot of pressure off the system. In some ways, I think that would be good to get after those things. I mean, we have, and I'm not talking about general fund balance, sir, but you know, we do have the ability. I think if we look strategically at our funding, I think we have opportunity to fix some of these smaller items, or at least go after them so that it can take some pressure off the bigger system. And I think that will give our drivers and our students a better, you know, a better opportunity to focus on what we need them to be focusing on. And so beyond that, I don't have any, unless you all would like to add anything to it. I'm doing a lot of talking here. I got 10 minutes left.
Just simply, if I may, that we appreciate the opportunity to interact and for our community, as well as our board members who serve as committee chair people, to understand the daily work that is put in, and the public right that's afforded our communities to have students transported to and from schools. It's not a perfect science. It never has been, and it's certainly not in today's. It's kind of similar to what I said last night, is this work, we are careful with the implementation of that. There's been a little bit of discussion about altering school schedules. So what I really want everyone to understand, I think this is the appropriate place for it, is we acknowledge that the delivery of children is not a perfect science. We don't have it all figured out yet. We're working really hard, and we are open and looking to exploring options to make it better. You know, the process that we have in place right now, the numbers that Mr. Myers gave you get us to a minimum operation, which I think was 16 drivers total. But we really need 32 to operate it like it's supposed to be operated. So I want us to absolutely use that number as this would make us kind of whole, but the real number is 32 to get us where we're optimal and we're not having to do some of the things, because what we try to stay away from saying publicly is right now, we were talking about trainers having dual roles. The people that are operating our buses, many of them have dual roles. So they're working to do this work for us because, you know, we have convinced them or whatever we've done to get them to do it. And we're thankful for that, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, the system operates the best when you have people dedicated to doing one form of work, which includes bus driving. And so that's what we're going to have to continue to try to develop beyond this school year. And you know, at some point, hopefully we'll get there, but it's an ongoing process. And not unlike you would find anywhere across the country. So I appreciate our approach. I mean, that's what I really want to say, that we get the opportunity to express some of the things that we have going on and some of the challenges that we have. And really, at the end of the day, we all are going to have to get into the recruiting business. You know, when we see people that are out at Walmart or wherever, and they approach us and we've got our school district shirt on, we're going to have to be representatives of the district and say and do the extra things to get them involved and at the right place where we can take a look at them about employment. You know, as my staff has heard me say all year, I know you guys have too, education has to become appealing. The work that we do, again, has to become appealing, Mr. Zell, because right now there are a lot of people that are talking about education as if it is some foreign, undesirable thing, and we got to get it back to the point where people are excited about driving buses because they know we're going to give them a good environment to work in. We're going to support them when there are issues. We're going to take care of them financially. Doing the work of educating children should never be punitive. That's what we're going to have to, yeah, that's what we're going to have to continue to work on. Those are really the comments I have at this point.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all of our drivers, our coaches, food service personnel, maintenance, even teachers, building service workers. All of them play a role because they drive a bus at some point in time. And we want to thank them for the services that they provide each and every day. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I echo your sentiments strongly. And like I said, my promise, I know I can put a whole lot of pressure. That's the world I come from. It's I think, sometimes needed. And I just appreciate y'all working with me and allowing me to work with you to help fix these problems. I mean, I think, like we've stated, that, you know, this there's been a lot of areas that's been neglected, and this certainly is what we should have done. If we're being completely honest, is in 2012 we should have got behind realignment, and we should have done the thing that should have been done. We're looking at 13, 14 years later, and here we are dealing with some of the problems that existed then. And so this isn't to impugn anyone's character or efforts in the past, because I wasn't there and we weren't in the room. However, you know, now we have a whole set of new problems with our 60, 70-year-old buildings. And so these efforts are painstaking, and the problems are immense. And so, but we've got to be methodical. We got to don't take things personally. And this is a profession, and we need to treat it as such. And so, you know, and we're not always going to we're not always going to be able to be nice about it. And so, but I think we all understand the problem that exists, and I'm thankful to be a part of the solution. So, next we'll move on to 3.1, transportation updates. I think I belabored that to the nth degree. I think we'll, if we could continue, these set of questions are the questions I'm going to continue to ask. I hope that this temporary ad hoc committee can be disbanded in the future. I would like to see, and we can talk about where that marker may be, but I think that, you know, we looking at that minimum 16 driver. If we get to that point, I think that at least as an initial jump off point, I would be comfortable with kind of, you know, handing this back off to the district full time and say, you know, because at that point I think I'd be pretty convinced that we're making the right efforts. The right efforts are resulting in what we need them to result in, and so that's that. So I do believe we have another meeting established. It's in December, Ms. Scott, and I don't know the date right off the top of my head, but sorry, December 4th. And so as of now, we'll just continue with that. That's a couple weeks, 3 weeks from now. It probably won't need to ask this many questions, and we probably, if you're okay with it, unless something comes up, just initially do it virtually. I don't think we need to be here all the time, but I do, you know, there are times that we got to look each other in the face and not at a computer screen. I think it's important to do that. So that will be it. We'll just continue this effort, and I really do, I'm going to actually come see you all a lot more here, because what I want to do is take some of your ideas and work with the other board members, particularly with Texarkana Wildman. I think she is in that. I think there's untapped opportunity there that I think that we could really get into as far as we have a lot of retirees. In fact, on the Veterans Day, I think I can't remember where I heard it, but there was a statistic that was thrown out by a pretty competent authority that said we have about 13%. I think it was maybe Ms. Brunson of the Sumter County VA office. She said there was about 13 to 14% veteran population in Sumter County. That's massive. And so that said, a lot of these folks are retirees. I'm one of them. And we, you know, I can't speak for all of them, but I certainly want to serve. That's why I did this. And I think it's kind of an untapped resource. And so we just got to make that connection, I think. And not just that, I think there are parts of the community that really want to help. They just don't know how to and how to get to us. And I think if we make a concerted effort that way and to get into those communities, you know, also recruiting, showing face. I'll do a campaign. I'll do a bus driver campaign across this county if I have to. I ran a pretty good one last year about this time. I know how to do it. But anyway, that said, is nothing's off the table. I just want to help you all make this problem go away, and not go away that we're hiding it, but fix it. Fix it permanently. Make this district as strong as it can be. Fix the fundamental processes in which we have to rely on every day, and just move forward. I think that's a legacy issue that I want to take with me, and that's what I'm committed to. So I think if you're okay with it, you know, behind the scenes we'll meet more often, face to face, and if that's okay, Mr. Superintendent, I want to intrude, and then go from there. So steps forward, just said them about 3 times. We're going to continue on this path, continue meeting and updating. Please continue to monitor this. I obviously will continue to brief the full board and my fellow trustees. I'm 1 minute over, Ms. Galloway, I apologize. I'm getting there, okay? I'm on my way. So allow me to do that. And then the one thing I would be remiss, and I know we talked about it already, but I really want to foot stomp this, is I am extremely excited about advocating for this transportation director position to the full board. I can't speak for them, but I will tell you from the sentiment that I get, we're probably not going to have a whole lot of resistance to what you ask of us. And so if we obviously we got to run it through the gamut of offices to say that it's doable, but I think this is a must-have and a must-do. And I also believe, and obviously I'm not in the hiring process, but I will say this, a little shameless plug to all our transportation folks. I understand there's a process in which hiring, but we have a whole lot of people internally that just are experts at what they do, and I hope that they have a fair shot, just as anyone else, to rise in the ranks of public education in Sumter County. So that said, we will move on with the approval of the previous minutes. I see Trustee Kosar Johnson's back there. Unless she has any objections, the agenda will stand approved. I'm not hearing any, so
No objection.
appreciate it, ma'am. Thank you. And closing remarks, I said them about 5 times over. I just want to say thank you all for being here today. This is a laborious effort because, and I'll say this, and I'm not the one to give credit where it's not due, but I will tell you, it's obvious that this district, despite what a lot of people think and see, they are putting out fires every single day. I would not doubt that they have a laundry list of daily items each and every one of them have to do, and some days they probably don't do a single thing on it, but are busy all day long anyway. Am I wrong in that assessment? Okay. So I just want to make it known that though I put a lot of pressure on key people in key areas, that this is something so foundational to administration of education that we got to get it right, and I'm thankful that we all are putting the efforts towards it. So without further ado, and if there's without any other closing comments, then Trustee Kosar Johnson, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and this meeting is now adjourned.